Day 98, Conquest in Judges, 1 Samuel 6-8, Psalm 85, let's begin. 1 Samuel 6-8. Now the ark of the Lord was in the region of the Philistines for 7 months. And the Philistines called for the priests and the diviners, saying, What shall we do with the ark of the Lord? Reveal to us in what manner we should send it back to its place. And they said, If you send back the ark of the God of Israel, do not choose to release it empty. Instead, repay to him what you owe because of sin. And then you will be cured. And you will know why his hand did not withdraw from you. And they said, What is it that we ought to repay to him because of transgression? And they responded, In accord with the number of the provinces of the Philistines, you shall fashion 5 gold cysts and 5 gold mice. For the same plague has been upon all of you and your princes. And you shall fashion a likeness of your cysts and a likeness of the mice, which have destroyed the land. And so shall you give glory to the God of Israel, so that perhaps he may lift off his hand from you, and from your gods, and from your land. Why have you hardened your hearts, just as Egypt and Pharaoh hardened their hearts? After he was struck, did he not then release them, and they went away? Now therefore, fashion and take a new cart, with 2 cows that have given birth, but on which no yoke has been imposed. And yoke them to the cart, but retain their calves at home. And you shall take the ark of the Lord, and you shall place it upon the cart, with the articles of gold that you have paid to him on behalf of transgression. You shall place these in a little box at its side, and release it, so that it may go. And you shall watch. And if, indeed, it ascends by the way of his own parts, toward Beth-Shemesh, then he has done this great evil to us. But if not, then we shall know that it is by no means his hand that has touched us, but instead it happened by chance. Therefore, they did it in this way. And taking 2 cows that were feeding calves, they yoked them to the cart, and they enclosed their calves at home. And they placed the ark of God upon the cart, with the little box that held the gold mice and the likenesses of the cysts. But the cows went directly along the way that leads to Beth-Shemesh. And they advanced only in one direction, lowing as they went. And they did not turn aside, either to the right, nor to the left. Moreover, the princes of the Philistines followed them, as far as the borders of Beth-Shemesh. Now the Beth-Shemeshites were harvesting wheat in the valley. And lifting up their eyes, they saw the ark, and they were glad when they had seen it. And the cart went into the field of Joshua, a Beth-Shemeshite, and it stood still there. Now in that place was a great stone, and so they cut up the wood of the cart, and they placed the cows upon it as a holocaust to the Lord. But the Levites took down the ark of God, and the little box that was at its side, in which were the articles of gold, and they placed them upon the great stone. Then the men of Beth-Shemesh offered holocausts and immolated victims, on that day, to the Lord. And the 5 princes of the Philistines saw, and they returned to Ekron on the same day. Now these are the gold cysts, which the Philistines repaid to the Lord for transgression, for Ashdod 1, for Gaza 1, for Ashkelon 1, for Gath 1, for Ekron 1. And there were gold mice, according to the number of the cities of the Philistines, of the 5 provinces, from the fortified city to the village that was without a wall, and even to the great stone upon which they placed the ark of the Lord, which was, at last in that day, in the field of Joshua, the Beth-Shemeshite. Then he struck down some of the men of Beth-Shemesh, because they had seen the ark of the Lord. And he struck down some of the people, 70 men, and 50,000 of the common people. And the people lamented, because the Lord had struck the people with a great slaughter. And the men of Beth-Shemesh said, Who will be able to stand in the sight of the Lord, this holy God? And who will ascend to him from us? And they sent messengers to the inhabitants of Kiriath-Jearim, saying, The Philistines have returned the ark of the Lord. Descend and lead it back to you. Then the men of Kiriath-Jearim arrived, and they led away the ark of the Lord. And they brought it into the house of Abinadab, in Gibeah. Then they sanctified Eleazar, his son, so that he might care for the ark of the Lord. And it happened that, from that day, the ark of the Lord remained in Kiriath-Jearim. And the days were multiplied, for it was now the 20th year, and all the house of Israel rested, following the Lord. Then Samuel spoke to the entire house of Israel, saying, If you would return to the Lord with your whole heart, take away strange gods from among you, the Baals and Ashtaroth, and prepare your hearts for the Lord, and serve him alone. And he will rescue you from the hand of the Philistines. Therefore, the sons of Israel took away the Baals and Ashtaroth, and they served the Lord alone. And Samuel said, Gather all of Israel at Mizpah, so that I may pray for you to the Lord. And they convened at Mizpah. And they drew water, and they poured it out in the sight of the Lord. And on that day they fasted, and in that place they said, We have sinned against the Lord. And Samuel judged the sons of Israel at Mizpah. And the Philistines heard that the sons of Israel had gathered together at Mizpah. And the princes of the Philistines ascended against Israel. And when the sons of Israel had heard this, they were afraid before the face of the Philistines. And they said to Samuel, May you not cease to cry out to the Lord our God on our behalf, so that he may save us from the hand of the Philistines. Then Samuel took one suckling lamb, and he offered it whole, as a holocaust to the Lord. And Samuel cried out to the Lord on behalf of Israel, and the Lord heeded him. Then it happened that, while Samuel was offering the holocaust, the Philistines began the battle against Israel. But the Lord thundered with a great crash, on that day, over the Philistines, and he terrified them, and they were cut down before the face of Israel. And the men of Israel, departing from Mizpah, pursued the Philistines, and they struck them down as far as the place which was below Bethkar. Then Samuel took a single stone, and he placed it between Mizpah and Shin. And he called the name of this place, the Stone of Assistance. And he said, For in this place the Lord gave assistance to us. And the Philistines were humbled, and they no longer drew near, so that they might enter into the borders of Israel. And so, the hand of the Lord was over the Philistines during all the days of Samuel. And the cities that the Philistines had taken from Israel were restored to Israel, from Ekron as far as Gath, with their borders. And he freed Israel from the hand of the Philistines. And there was peace between Israel and the Amorites. And Samuel judged Israel all the days of his life. And he went each year, traveling around to Bethel, and to Gilgal, and to Mizpah, and he judged Israel in the above stated places. And he returned to Ramah. For his house was there, and he judged Israel there. And then he built an altar to the Lord there. And it happened that, when Samuel had become old, he appointed his sons as judges over Israel. Now the name of his firstborn son was Joel, and the name of the second was Abijah, judges at Beersheba. But his sons did not walk in his ways. Instead, they turned aside, pursuing avarice. And they accepted bribes, and they perverted judgment. Therefore, all those greater by birth of Israel, having gathered together, went to Samuel at Ramah. And they said to him, Behold, you are elderly, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Appoint for us a king, so that he may judge us, just as all the nations have. And the word was displeasing in the eyes of Samuel, for they had said, Give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed to the Lord. Then the Lord said to Samuel, Listen to the voice of the people in all that they are saying to you. For they have not rejected you, but me, lest I reign over them. In accord with all their works, which they have done from the day when I led them away from Egypt, even to this day, just as they have forsaken me, and served foreign gods, so now they also do to you. Now therefore hear their voice. Yet truly, testify to them and foretell to them the rights of the king who will reign over them. And so Samuel told all the words of the Lord to the people, who had petitioned a king from him. And he said, This will be the right of the king who will have authority over you. He will take your sons, and place them in his chariots. And he will make them his horsemen, and his runners before his 4-horse chariots. And he will appoint them to be his tribunes and centurions, and the plowmen of his fields, and the harvesters of the grain, and the makers of his weapons and chariots. Likewise, your daughters he will take for himself as makers of ointments, and as cooks and bakers. Also, he will take your fields, and your vineyards, and your best olive groves, and he will give them to his servants. Moreover, he will take 1/10 of your grain and of the results of your vineyards, so that he may give these to his eunuchs and servants. Then, too, he will take your servants, and handmaids, and your best young men, and your donkeys, and he will set them to his work. Also, he will take 1/10 of your flocks. And you will be his servants. And you will cry out, in that day, from the face of the king, whom you have chosen for yourselves. And the Lord will not heed you in that day. For you requested a king for yourselves. But the people were not willing to listen to the voice of Samuel. Instead, they said, "By no means. For there shall be a king over us. And we shall be just like all the Gentiles. And our king will judge us, and he will go out before us, and he will fight our wars for us." And Samuel heard all the words of the people, and he spoke them to the ears of the Lord. Then the Lord said to Samuel, "Listen to their voice, and appoint a king over them." And Samuel said to the men of Israel, "Let each one go to his own city." Psalm 85. A prayer of David himself. Incline your ear, O Lord, and hear me. For I am needy and poor. Preserve my soul, for I am holy. My God, bring salvation to your servant who hopes in you. O Lord, be merciful to me, for I have cried out to you all day long. Give joy to the soul of your servant, for I have lifted up my soul to you, Lord. For you are sweet and mild, Lord, and plentiful in mercy to all who call upon you. Pay attention, Lord, to my prayer, and attend to the voice of my supplication. In the day of my tribulation, I cried out to you, because you heeded me. There is no one like you among the gods, O Lord, and there is no one like you in your works. All the nations, which you have made, will draw near and adore in your presence, O Lord. And they will glorify your name. For you are great, and you perform wonders. You alone are God. Lead me, O Lord, in your way, and I will walk in your truth. May my heart rejoice, so that it will fear your name. I will confess to you, O Lord my God, with my whole heart. And I will glorify your name in eternity. For your mercy toward me is great, and you have rescued my soul from the lower part of hell. O God, the iniquitous have risen up against me, and the synagogue of the powerful have sought my soul, and they have not placed you in their sight. And you, Lord God, are compassionate and merciful, being patient and full of mercy and truthful. Look down upon me and have mercy on me. Grant your authority to your servant, and bring salvation to the son of your handmaid. Make me a sign of what is good, so that those who hate me may look and be confounded. For you, O Lord, have helped me and consoled me.